Hello everybody, it's Kim and welcome to day 13 of my Extreme Budget Challenge. Right here I am frying up some homemade pierogi that I just completed, and I will put that video at the end of this one because really there's not much to say today. I was out of town for a few days, so it kind of looks like we're eating the same thing 2 days in a row, but we're not. So to go with my pierogi, I have some sausage, and luckily I am getting some veggies out of the garden, so I have some green beans going. And for breakfast I just had some peanut butter toast and some kohlrabi and cucumber. So I wanted you to see what we were having for dinner, and I wanted to more importantly show you how I made those pierogi. And crazy busy trying to use up some potatoes. I received a 50-pound bag a couple, 3-4 weeks back, and I noticed some of them starting to go to bad, so I want to make sure I use them all up. Well, I have 2 pounds in here, I have 4 jars in the canner, I have some hash browns going, and I still have that many to use. So I am going to start making a dough here for homemade pierogi. I'm going to make at least 2 different flavors of potato-based pierogis. Now, these are steaming hot, and I want to get them whipped together in my KitchenAid so that they're nice and smooth. Okay, I divided my potatoes in half. This is going to be a little bit of sour cream and chive in here, and this one is going to be a bacon and cheddar. What I'm using for the bacon, since I do not have any bacon, is I always save my bacon grease, so there's not much in here, but I'm going to use this in my potatoes to give it that bacon flavor. I need to go melt this real quick in the microwave, and I will be right back. While my bacon fat is melting, I want to get this cheese in here. Not sure if I'm going to use it all. That's about 4 ounces, and I have a pound of potatoes. I'm just going to let that mix in to incorporate really well. To make pierogis, I want my dough, my batter, my center, whatever you want to call it, really smooth as much as possible. Okay, my bacon's ready. Let me go grab that. All right, it's not completely melted, but that's okay. I'm just going to drizzle it in here because I don't want to make it overly fatty. I'm going to drizzle what's melted so far, and if I need it, I can just add the rest. Trying to incorporate it really well. All right, I have a spoon here. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, a nice smooth dough that I can put into the center of the pasta or the pierogi itself. So that is my potato and cheddar bacon. Now, if I had bacon, that would be really good. What I'm going to do right now is, because I do not have the pasta or the wrapper ready, I'm just going to put these in a zipper bag so that when I'm done messing around with all my potatoes, I can go ahead and make the wrappers for this. And then I'm going to start on the chive and cheddar, or chive and sour cream ones. The process is the same. I'm going to start getting these nice and smooth, and then I'm going to add some fresh chives and some sour cream. All right, I don't use exact measurements. I just kind of put a little this, a little that. You taste them. I forgot to tell you, I did add some salt to the other ones. And I will add a little bit to this as well, salt and pepper on this one. Okay, and that filling's good to go. So until I get the dough made for the pierogis, again, it's going in a plastic bag, going in the refrigerator, and it'll be ready to use as soon as I have time to make the wrappers. Okay, I dealt with all of my potatoes yesterday. This happens to be the next day because I had about 30 pounds to deal with. And today I'm going to make the dough for the pierogi. So in the bowl right now I have 2 cups of flour, some salt and pepper. I'm just going to stir them up real quick. Now, I need to thank my friend Tony for her recipe. I just remembered that my grandmother had taught me how to make these using sour cream, and that was 45 years ago, and I could not remember how she did it, obviously, because it was such a long time ago. So she generously shared her recipe with me, and I'm going to try not to mess it up. So in the bowl I have, like I said, I'm starting with 2 cups, adding a cup. This is an 8-ounce package of sour cream. I'm going to add a little bit less because I want to save some as a topping for my pierogi. So I'm going to save out enough for dinner. Then I'm going to add in 1 egg. I'm going to use one of my fresh chicken eggs. So I now have 3 eggs left for the rest of this week. And I'm going to try to stir these 2 together pretty good here. Probably could have done that in another bowl, but it's all going to get mixed up. And then you just start combining in your flour until you get a nice workable dough. Very similar to making noodles, but like I said, I just remembered, all I could remember was my grandmother's was made with sour cream. I've seen them made very similar to noodles with just egg. I've seen them made with just water. So it really depends on the way you want them made, but I wanted to go her route. All right, looks like I'm gonna have to get my hand dirty here. And I'm just going to work on mixing this together really well. And I will do that and come back and show you. It has come together. It is a bit sticky, but I'm going to let this rest for 10 minutes before I add any more flour. I want that flour to absorb as much moisture as possible, because then I'm going to knead it for a while, and I'm going to have flour to knead it anyway. So I'll be back here in about 10 minutes, my time. My dough has rested, so I am going to knead in, if I need to, any flour. I just floured the board here, or my counter, and it's just like you do with bread dough. You just want to knead it really nice until it's smooth, and it will help develop that gluten. Then we're going to stick it in the refrigerator after I cut it into pieces for about a half an hour to chill it a bit so we can roll it out. Now hopefully this feels just a tad dry. I may have put, because I didn't have as much sour cream, oh no, now I can feel it. Okay. Just want to make sure I don't get it too dry. It's the last thing I want. I want it nice and elastic so that when we boil them, they won't fall apart. And we'll talk about that when I start assembling my pierogies. Now, I'm not sure how many I'm going to get. I think you get maybe 3 dozen out of this. And I made up 2 pounds of potatoes in 2 different fillings. So anyway, I'm going to knead this until it's nice and smooth. Quick second to show you my beautiful soft dough. I did not add any more flour. If I need to, I will flour well when I roll it out. Otherwise, like I said, I'm going to cut it into quarters, wrap it, and stick it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. All right, I had my dough in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. I keep looking at these black spots, and I'm like, what is that? I realized it's the pepper. And I'm going to roll this out as thin as possible. If it doesn't roll right away when you do this, it needs to rest a little bit longer if it keeps springing back. And that has to do with all of your doughs, just so you know. I'm just making sure it's not sticking. It's a beautifully soft dough here. So I'm going to get this as thin as I can. And then I will cut them out and show you how to stuff them. So let me get that rolled out. All right, I got it rolled nice and thin, and I got my handy dandy pierogi cutters out. I'm trying to decide which size I want to make. This is the wide mouth, that's the regular. I think I'm going to start with this one just to see. I'm going to do one of each and see which size I like best. Okay, so I'm going to cut one of each out. Might be a good way to tell them apart too. Okay, so just so I can get this going and show you. Now I have my potato filling. If you make it the same day, you want to let it cool off really well, because you don't want to get your dough hot. And I'm just going to take a spoonful here and place it in the middle. Now remember, you have to be able to bring these sides together here. And once you get the hang of how much you need, you'll just be able to do it. Usually a good tablespoon or so. Then I like to take a little bit of water. I just have a small jar of water here. Go around the edge. Sometimes your dough doesn't need it, but it's just kind of an extra precaution. Then you want to take your edges really well, and you want to start in the center here, kind of pulling. You don't want to leave any air gaps in there. And pinch your dough really well around. And I kind of smush my center out a little bit. After I make up a bunch of these, I have some water. I should have told you I have some water on to boil, some well-salted water, and we will need to boil these. The other way you can pinch these together if you want is to take a fork and go around, but believe me, they are pretty well together. You can make them pretty by doing little pleats if you want. That double ensures that they're going to stick together well. And keep your other dough covered if you don't get to them fast enough, because you don't want it to dry out and get stiff. So there, you can make them pretty if you want to. I wanted to show you, once you get the hang of it, you can start adding more filling. It has been a long time since I've made a stuffed pasta, but you can start. You see it's pretty full. Now you could stretch your edges to where you want them to go, and you can get a nice big, watch these ends here. Trouble with the ends because they are floured a little bit and they don't want to stick as well. So I pinch them, double pinch. And they start going much faster. Maybe not enough water on those little edges there. So let me grab this one. This one's really full. You could see, push it down in the middle, bring those edges up. Just depends on how much dough you like with your filling. Remember, these are going to take a little longer if they're frozen to cook those centers. You could always boil them first too. I mean, before you fry them a second time. Make sure they're pinched really well. And I can just keep on going. That's it. They go together real quick. Off to the side here I have a pan because I'm going to freeze a lot of these. And there is my well-salted boiling water. I'm just going to drop these in a couple at a time. As soon as they float, they're ready to come out of the water. You don't want the water to stop boiling, and you don't want to crowd them. So I made 8 out of that quarter. And I just stir them a little bit to make sure they're not going to stick to the bottom. But my water's still boiling. And as soon as they float to the top, I'm going to take them off and put them on my sheet pan. Let me show you what they look like when they're boiled. These just came out, but it firms up the dough. See, there's no more stretchiness to it or anything. And that's why we boil them. It kind of turns it more into like a noodle type casing. Now they can be frozen, or they can be fried like I'm going to do in butter and onion for dinner, however many, but now I have plenty to go in the freezer too, so that we can have them for another meal in a few days. So, right, I wanted to show you my completed pierogies. This is the bacon cheddar potato, and then there's 25 of those, and I have 13 of the chive and onion, which I have some of the filling left. So if I get some sour cream, I can make some more dough, or we can eat it, as a side dish. Anyway, I just wanted to show you what they look like. I'm going to take whatever we're not having for dinner tonight. I'm going to throw them on a sheet pan. They're going to go in the freezer. Once frozen, then I will put them in freezer bags. That way I could pull them out one by one instead of having them all kind of stuck together. Right, there we go. Doesn't that look great? I know I love pierogi, and they're very expensive. I think you get like 12 for $5 or $6 in the store. And here I made them for 2 pounds of potatoes, a little sour cream. Probably made the whole batch for under $3. So it takes a little bit of time, but they're so much better. Anyway, I'm going to go eat my dinner. I hope you enjoyed this video, and you guys have a wonderful day.